Football is very much in focus at the moment, and in this Island Life special we go back to 1990 and 3 young Manxmen travelling independently from the Isle of Man to support England and Scotland in the World Cup at ITALIA 90. One of them is your host, Dave Moore.
So my 2 guests that I have in the studio with me are, well, we all have something in common. I have Paul Sellers, who's a Derby County fan. I have Paul Whitehead, who is a Stoke City fan. And because we've got 2 Pauls, I think we're going to call you Whitey, if that's all right. And myself, an Everton fan. But the 3 things that we all have in common is that we're from the Isle of Man and we all went to ITALIA 90. It's World Cup year, of course. So let's just begin by going back in time before we talk about ITALIA 90. What was the first World Cup tournament you remember?
I remember Brian Robson against Spain, I think. Was
it? That was
82. Scoring 4 minutes or something like that.
Now, we're all of a similar age. We're all in our 50s.
Yeah.
What was the first one you remember, Whitey?
Well, it was 1982 because that was the year I moved to the Isle of Man. So I actually had my full England kit on to go to Moran School for the first day, and nobody supported England.
Wow.
I've just had a flashback actually, Dave. The first World Cup I remember is 78 because I actually bought, for some reason, Ali's Tartan Army on a 7-inch single.
That was 78.
Yeah,
well, which is amazing because my first memories, and quite vivid, 1974 in Germany. You don't remember 74?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I was
Holland,
8.
Was that a Dutch-Germany final?
That was Holland and West Germany, the final. I remember that game.
I
don't know if I remember it from it happening at the time or
I remember at the time we watched the first half. My brother and I watched the first half, and at half time we were that excited about it. We went out and played football and didn't watch the second half.
And who were you?
Whoever I was at the time, I don't know. But I remember other things. I remember East Germany beating West Germany 1-0. Remember that really clearly. I remember Australia playing against Germany as well. But so what sowed the seed for you, Paul, first of all, Paul Sellers, for going to ITALIA 90? Where did the seed come?
Derby and him Stoke?
Well, we'll come to that in a moment, yeah. So where did...
ITALIA 90? Well, I actually went to European Championships in Germany in 88. Complete spontaneous thing. I watched them beat Poland to qualify on I think it was a Wednesday afternoon for some reason. I was in a bed sitting in Hutchinson Square watching it, and I thought, I'm going to that. I'm going to go. They've qualified. I'm going, and I just saved a bit of money up. You could get anywhere in Europe, basically. You could go right down to Greece.
Interrail, isn't it?
Interrail.
Yeah, that was it.
For about 90 quid. It was amazing. Yeah. And these had sleepers on it and things and all sorts. So we just jumped on a train at night if we couldn't get a hotel and slept on the trains. But 1990, I can't really remember when I decided to go to that. I know I applied for my tickets and I had to try and save a bit of money. But I remember about a week before, I didn't have enough cash. So I decided to try and sell my car. And it was the day before I was due to go.
So this would be about TT as well, wouldn't it?
So
there's a lot.
Early June-ish.
Yeah, I remember.
End of May. And a fella knocked on my door and offered me what I was asking for. It is a Fiat Super Mirafiori, if you remember them. And that was it. I was on my way.
So what about you, Whitey?
So mine was pretty simple, really. I was at Moran training at the QE2, 5-a-side, old Tim O'Hanlon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think Colin Hardman and Chris Murphy, and I think Mo from Station Garage, Michael Owen, was going, and he pulled out. I don't know how last minute it was, but I just remember either Colin or Chris saying to me, "Do you fancy going to Italy?" And I was an apprentice at the time, so I didn't have a great deal of money. But I think my dad said, "If you pay half for it, I'll pay half." So yeah, that's how it kind of came about. So it was like a last minute thing. Do you know what? I think it was the first time I've been to an England game as well. Was ITALIA 90.
So do you know how I ended up going to ITALIA 90? You don't remember this, obviously. No. So we were all in Bushy's Brew Pub about 7 weeks before. I remember you playing pool, and it was quite busy. I think it was like Saturday afternoon or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so as you were playing, you said, "Yeah, I'm off to the World Cup."
Right.
I was like, "Wow, God, I'd love to go to the World Cup."
So I inspired you.
You did. So the thing was, I was with Barry Galloway at the time.
Right.
And I said, "Well, how are we going to get tickets?" And Barry, from the Isle of Man, but he's Scottish descent, and he said, "Yeah, I can get tickets to go and see Scotland." And being from the Isle of Man, there's an Isle of Man thing here that you can support England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales when it suits type of thing. And I'd always had a soft spot for Scotland. I said, "That'd be great. I'd go for that. How can you get tickets?" He goes, My uncle's the president or the secretary of the Scottish Football Association.
Right.
So it's quite, Walker his name was. I've still got the
Right.
letter somewhere from him. Barry sorted out the tickets, so we decided there and then we would go, and we went for the group game. So what was your plan at the start then? Was it just the group games?
Group games, that's all I went to, the group games.
And was it you, Paul?
I stayed for 2 weeks, ran out of cash.
And
And then I
came-
watched the other 2 weeks. I stayed in London and watched it around Trafalgar Square, and that was just quite exciting.
up until the semi-final.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so getting everything together, how difficult? You mentioned the Interrail, getting tickets, things like that. How tough was that? I mean, obviously you go, we want to go to the World Cup, and it was quite easy for me and Barry to go and watch
It's hard to
Scotland.
explain, ticket-wise, how easy it was then.
Yeah, it's completely
You
different,
became a
isn't it?
member just by signing a form and sending it off to the FA. They sent you your membership back. As soon as you had that membership at the England Travel Club, you get tickets for anything. It was so easy.
And you, Whitey?
Yeah, same thing. Like you say, because I took Mo's place. All I had to do was give my details and just did a quick check, and it was just dead easy. Nothing like it became a few years later. Yeah, dead simple.
So, Paul, first of all, then you decide to go Interrail. What about accommodation, digs, things like that, or did you just jump on a
Didn't
train?
worry about that.
So, how did you get to Italy? I mean, where did you go via?
Well, I boat and trained here to Euston, trained down to Dover, ferry to Calais.
And this is on your own.
On my own at this stage, and then I got to Paris, and then the Interrail went all the way to Rome. It was like a 12-hour journey overnight. So I met on that journey. It's quite funny actually, because we were actually sleeping in the mail cart. But when we all woke up in the morning, we decided to go to first class for breakfast. And we managed to get a couple of croissants each, and that was it. We were
So you met up with other England fans at this point?
Two lads from Newmarket, two lads from Grimsby, who I still am in contact with now. There's a lad from Coventry and a couple of lads from Exeter, who, all in the same boat, didn't know each other from Adam. They were calling me a dodgy Scouser at one stage because they didn't trust me because I was a Scouser. But no, as soon as we met up, we had a couple of hours in Rome, train to City of Vecchia, which is a little port where the ferries left from. I think it left at 11 at night, so we were 4 or 5 hours in City of Vecchia.
How many days have you been on the road at this point?
2.
2 days.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the ferry was an overnight ferry, and I think it was about 10 hours. Was it?
I flew.
Oh, did you?
Oh, right.
Oh,
We're
you
coming to Whitey in a moment.
Possibly. I'm sure it's 10, maybe 12 hours overnight, and it got in 8 o'clock in the morning. So, first night was the train station. Second night was the beach. We slept on the canvas of a yacht in a boat park, on the nice padded seats.
Mm-hmm.
And the train station was always good as well, because if you could get into the train station into a carriage,
Yeah.
they had the bunks that come
That's
down.
right, yeah.
So we did that a couple of nights. But we did spend 2 nights in a hotel. We took the train up during the game, in between the games, up to a place called Olbia, which is in the north of Sardinia. And we checked into a nice hotel. It was weird because when we checked in and paid, it wasn't very much. And the lady said, "Would you like some spaghetti bolognese?" And we said, "Well, yeah, we're starving, yeah." But we're in the dining room, and there's a massive big Christmas tree on the dining room table. I thought, what's going on here? But that's the sort of place it was.
Yeah, okay. We'll come up to the games. So you say you flew, Whitey?
Yeah, we was kind of an organised travel thing. So flights were all organised. We actually got a car when we were there, but we flew into Sardinia, and we stayed probably about, I don't know how far it is from the ground, but it was a place called Villa Simius, which is a beautiful place. My sister actually went there not long ago, said it was absolutely amazing. But yeah, we had like a little, like apartments they were, but they were just like on one floor, so you had a little bit of grass outside there, and kind of all the England fans were kind of put there well away from the ground, if
I
you know
wish
what I
I'd
mean.
met you.
There's other Manx
Yes,
fans.
lads.
Yeah,
Peel, yeah.
so I went with Chris Murphy and Colin Hardman, and Sean and Paul Dingson from Peel came along, but they came different way than us. But they came out and met up with us and came to the matches with us. But obviously they travelled in different ways.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful, to tell you the truth.
Oh, the island is absolutely
Yeah.
gorgeous. I keep saying to
Proper
Ken,
holiday.
we should go back because the beaches are
Yeah.
beautiful.
We flew into Nice. It was funny, actually, as we landed, Roger Moore walked past.
Right.
So then we took the train to Ventimiglia. then changed, and then took the train. And we stayed in a place because Scotland's games were in Genoa.
Right.
Yeah, so we were in
That's
Genoa.
north, isn't it?
Yeah, we were up in the north.
Yeah.
So first 2 games were in Genoa, and then the last game was at Turin, Juventus's old stadium. But we'll come to that shortly. But we stayed in a place called Loano, train along the coast. It was lovely. Train from Nice all the way to Loano along the French and Italian coast. Really picturesque. Got to a little tiny town, Loano. I'm sure the towns that you were in were pretty small, picturesque Italian.
Beautiful it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Welcoming? Did you get a good welcome?
Yeah. Well, it depends what you mean.
Well, as Scotland fans, when we got to Loano, there was a Scottish fan over here who was going. He'd arranged it for us. We got talking to him, Gary Park, because Gary was the only other one from the Isle of Man who went and met up with a load of other Scottish fans that were staying there. And our hotel, a twin room with a bar down below, and it was great. We sat in the bar. And they were really great. I remember Grandi Birra and Piccolo Birra that was all the Italian that you needed to kind of know really to get through. And we'll talk about the Italians and all the others in a moment as well. So, how many days before the first game against Ireland?
Well, I was there for the opening game of the World Cup because I was there for Italy-Cameroon, was it?
Argentina-Cameroon.
Argentina-Cameroon, was that
the
first
was
game?
the one. That was the first game. Yeah, I remember it well.
Argentina-Cameroon, sorry,
yeah.
You're right, yeah. So we were there for that.
Wow.
I think it was 3 days, wasn't it,
Yeah.
before England played?
Yeah, it was 6th the first game, wasn't it? 6th of June, the first
Something
game.
like that.
Something like that,
Getting the
yeah.
ticket. But yeah, we were there for that because I remember not really remembering the game because obviously your first day on holiday or whatever, and you just get absolutely battered in the pub. I mean, the pubs were
11th,
bars were amazing.
16th and 24th.
But yeah, I just remember that.
So the first game was on the 11th.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and then it was the 16th, and then the 21st.
Oh, right, okay. So anyway, yeah, we were definitely there for the first game.
So the first game was against Ireland. What was it like between the English fans and did you encounter any Irish fans?
So basically, we had to travel quite a long way to get to the ground, but we had a car, so we had a bit of a laugh on the way down there. There was obviously the beer ban on the day before. The day. I think it might have been the day before. I can't remember now.
Yeah, there's no alcohol ban with Scotland.
No,
but with England was.
There wasn't an alcohol ban
really
with
either
Cagliari.
because everyone just had powdered the beer in a few days before, and
We just emptied the supermarkets.
So that's what everyone did. Kind of
But there were smaller bars that were going,
In you come. Yeah.
wanting the business.
So what was the atmosphere like then at this point? So
I'd say that it was quite intimidating because of the way we had to get to the ground. We had to get. I don't know if you remember this, Sally, but there was like a big zone around the ground that if you didn't have your ticket, you couldn't get into that kind of zone. But inside there was nothing inside that, if you know what I mean. So you got to a barrier, and obviously they had all the young carabinieri with like very threatening kind
that's
of.
That's the police, isn't it?
Yeah. It was kind of outside of that barrier. There's all like the party atmosphere, but even then there was being careful what you watched, and you know what I mean, and how you behaved. Because
Did you not meet in the square then, the town square? Because the 3 games that I went to, we all met in the square.
I remember we met in the square
and we marched
in Genoa.
That's the actual walk to the stadium.
Wow.
Which the Italian police tried to get us to go away from the town sort of thing across a motorway, which is that road at the top.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a pretty similar
They
to
didn't do that, the England fans. And I was caught up in a bit of tear gas and then
Wow. So what was that
water
experience
cannon.
like? So how did that come about?
It was quite frightening, actually.
So how come you ended up being?
What happened was, because the England fans decided to go their own way, it got into a bit of a bottleneck, and all the Italian police were in riot vehicles at one end of this street. All the England fans were marching down it, and it ended up a bit of a crush situation. And because the ones at the back didn't really know what was
And this was
going
the
on,
Ireland game, the first
this is
game.
the first game,
Yeah.
There was bottles getting thrown from the back of the England fans at the police. So the next minute, the tear gas is out, the batons are out, the dogs are out, the water cannon's out. I mean, I can still see, there was a little petrol station. I could still see about 20 England fans cornered in this petrol station just getting weighed into.
By the police?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was really intimidating.
Similar thing for you, Whitey?
Not so much on that match day. We didn't see that on the match day, but more the only times we've seen like kind of trouble was like in between the games. You couldn't move without being watched, if you know what I mean. And
There was no trouble in the ground, was there?
No.
Especially with the Irish.
No.
To be honest with you, I didn't see any trouble with the Irish outside the ground. And considering then it was a a lot more tense between the Irish and the English with what was going on, and there was a lot of chants
loads of chants
going on,
Yeah.
but I didn't see any trouble with the Irish.
And what about the game itself? What did you think? Because you go into that thinking
Wish we'd
we
won
should
it.
beat them. Yeah, you'd think
Yeah.
England should have.
Well, not really, because I was in Germany when they beat us 1-0.
That's right, yeah.
So I thought this is going to be tough. It's going to be a Premiership game. This, well, it wasn't Premiership then, but Division 1 game, because they all knew each other.
That's
They all
right.
played for the same clubs, so it wasn't necessarily going to be easy. But
I don't think England played that well.
my mate actually got interviewed by ITN News the next day. We were sat in the bar 10:30 having breakfast, as you do, and we actually got interviewed by the news stations, and I can remember him going, "There's no heart in that team. They're not playing for the badge. There's no heart." He stood up. He was from Newmarket, big Spurs fan. "There's no heart there. There's no heart." And he actually got on the news. But when it was played in the Isle of Man or on the telly, it was actually seen in the Haven. It was Selly on the telly, and it went on. Every game was Selly on the telly.
Well, Scotland's first game was against Costa Rica, and that was supposed to be Scotland were going to destroy Costa Rica. I think Costa Rica's first ever World Cup match, etc. And I remember before the game we had pretty good seats. We were on the TV as well. I remember we got a shout from when we got back home. They said they saw us in the crowd before the match. The one thing I remember about that game was Alex McLeish. His family were right next to us.
Right.
And before the start of the game, the players all came out and they're all, "Wait, Alex," and all this. So we Alex McLeish's family are there. Anyway, game goes on. Costa Rica cause a big upset, beat Scotland 1-0. And it was awful because McLeish was slaughtered by the fans. And you just stood there knowing that his family are there. I mean, it was horrible. It was really, really, really awful.
I think the Scottish fans are a bit harder on
Well,
their
I think,
managers.
listen, I think if England were being beaten by Costa Rica back then, it
Maybe,
was,
yeah.
that was the whole thing. But the one thing I was going to mention as well, there was something that we all took to the matches that we all have in common. Now, yours are a little bit better than mine. I just took a
Manx
3 legs
flag.
of flag, a Manx flag just to fly up there.
Yeah.
More than anything, we're from the Isle of Man, but to kind of spot myself.
Yeah.
On this, so
Well,
it just-
yeah.
that was the whole thing. But you guys, you brought your own flags as well, but a bit
Yeah.
more custom made. Tell us about your flags.
Yeah, so mine was like almost like a big St George's cross. But I had a Union Jack in one corner, I had the Manx flag in the other, and I had Stoke City written across.
And you made it?
In Hammerite, yeah. Me and Philly Udall did it in his kitchen, I remember, before I went. And,
Hammerite white.
I know, yeah. But yeah, still got it, and it's on a lot of the footage of the games, because it was like where they reel around for the goals.
And yours, Sel?
Well, I actually borrowed mine from a garden in Ballasella on the way home from the academy one night.
Oh dear. All right.
Edit.
Just the 3 legs, was it?
It was a 3 Manx flag,
Yeah.
and I had a little England flag which I put in the corner, and I just put my name across the top.
All right. Okay.
Again in Hammerite white.
And then, because first thing you do when you get in is go and hang your flag up, isn't
Yeah.
it? When you get to
Well,
go
yeah,
into
I've
the ground.
actually got a flag. It cost me £500, a Derby Manx Rams flag, so it's got a big 3 legs a man.
Yeah.
Size of that wall, I think it's 5 by 3 metres.
Wow.
But it's got 3 legs and then Manx Rams across the top.
All right. We've all had our first game.
Yeah.
What else is happening around? What are you getting up to? What's the entertainment like? What's keeping you occupied in between the matches?
Entertainment, zilch. Make your
So you're
own.
both still in Sardinia.
Yeah, I'm in Cagliari, the capital. If you were allowed in a bar, there was nothing on. There was no entertainment on. It was basically sit there, have a few drinks, and try and find somewhere to sleep. If you didn't have anywhere, you weren't spoiled.
Complete opposite. Complete opposite. So we had a lovely beach. We went down and played footy every day down the beach in the sea.
So we did that in the daytime.
Yeah.
We did have a game of footy.
But I mean, we met these Italian guys who took us on a big fishing trip to not a fishing trip, but took us to this island, and we had like loads of wine and squid, and it must have been about 20 of us went on this boat. Nothing official, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Our trips were a
Deco-
complete contrast, weren't they?
Bit of culture.
Yeah.
But
I
it
feel
was,
like a
I mean,
tramp.
obviously it was amazing, like, you know what I mean. But and because probably the place we were staying, which wasn't the middle of a city.
But it wasn't just that. It was
The difference,
because
like-
of the weather and how beautiful that island is. It made up for it. You didn't mind just sitting on the beach having a few beers.
Yeah, the weather was great, wasn't it? I don't
Yeah.
remember it really
Oh, it's
being, apart from the
roasted.
final Scotland game that we had
Yeah.
rain. Something else you may have experienced that we experienced was when Italy played.
Yeah.
What that was like.
Totally, yeah.
So
Yeah.
the bar that we were at, we went down to watch the Italy game, and all the seats at the front all had Giuseppe, all these names of all the guys that were sitting there. Not one of them bought a drink.
No.
They just all came in, sat down and watched the game, and then we all kind of filtered back. But anyway, Italy won all of their 3 games, but I remember sitting outside the bar about 11 o'clock at night, because the games were kicking off about 9, weren't they? Something like that. So 11 o'clock, we were sat there, and the petrol station across the road, all the lights suddenly came on. And the next thing, there was a stream of cars, and they're all just filling up with petrol.
And driving around.
The flags out, all up and down. It was incredible. What was that like? It was amazing,
Same
wasn't
with
it?
Cagliari.
Same there as well.
It was amazing.
Just ran through the streets, constantly through the streets.
So having stayed in Cagliari probably most of the 2 weeks, a lot of the trouble was instigated by the Italian youths. They'd turn up 10:30, 11 o'clock at night and start throwing things. The English lads would just be sitting there having a drink, but then obviously they'd retaliate, and they never reported that. It was always about the English hooligans. My bag was searched 3 times getting on that boat, 3 times getting off it. A rucksack. So imagine how annoying that is.
Yeah.
Then they thought I had a swastika flag. Why you bring swastika?
Wow, because of the 3 legs.
Yeah. I had to explain on a map where the Isle of Man was and show me passport. The hooliganism side of it, compared to Germany 88 in the cities, was minimal. And I think at that stage it had started to die down a little bit.
Same thing down there, like when there was some nights where the Italians, a bit like when the Italians were playing, they come out in the cars and they go around all the streets in the cars with the flags out the windows, and like a random night we were all just sat there and all the Italians came into this square where we were all sat. The place was absolutely kicked off, and then they all just left, and then the police turned up. It was just like carnage, and England fans are getting arrested. Do you know what I mean? So it's weird how you almost feel like it's a proper setup, if you know what I mean, because even sometimes when you were near the ground and there was like journalists asking you to look angry for a photograph, do you know what I mean? And you're going,
it's like the mods and rockers of the 60s.
It's like, just look angry like that. No.
I'm saying that.
Well, that's what, you know what I mean?
The other side of it as well is a lot of Italians got on really well with the English, and they wanted to buy you shirts. I actually sold my England shirt after the 2 weeks, the red away one, which I wish I hadn't. I sold it for about 40 quid. Didn't sound very Manx there, did I? I sold it for about 40 quid to some Italian who just stopped on his moped as I was walking back to the train station and said, I buy your shirt, I love England, I buy your shirt.
So the next game for England is the Dutch game.
Yeah.
Now, again, another one I didn't watch, but when I heard about it afterwards, apparently England played a lot better this game. But, I mean, going into it, you've got, again, 2 teams with big reputations, both on and off the field.
Yeah.
I thought we'd get battered, to be honest with you. They were champions, weren't they? Or European champions.
But the best game, Gaza, was unbelievable, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was good.
I think that gave everyone, I think as a start of actually believing that we could do something with the,
Did you mingle with the Dutch fans at all?
Couldn't.
No?
Couldn't.
I didn't even see any.
We weren't allowed anywhere near them.
I didn't see hardly any in Cagliari.
No,
so I don't know
we just kept completely
whether
away
they came in the day of the game and went.
I think they mostly did.
Obviously, they're all in the ground, but I didn't see any, around town or anything. No orange. So I don't know how they did it.
No, which is sad, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I've been to games where we've partied with them. Do you know what I mean? So.
But they were having their own hooligan problems as well, the Dutch. So maybe that was another concerted plan.
There was definitely extra security as well that day for the home game. We couldn't get in with absolutely anything. Even my flag was cut. It's like on our flag has got this little like wooden bit at the top, so it must be where it goes into the flagpole, and they cut it open and rip that bit out.
Because it could be used as a weapon.
Could have used as a weapon. And then you get in there and the Dutch have got a brass band in there, you know what I mean? How's that work? You know what I mean? Hit by a trumpet. But...
To be honest with you, the actual games, all 3 of them, were a bit of a haze. I can't really remember much about...
Time ago.
It was...
I mean, the thing is, are you going to the games with a few beers on board?
Well, not many.
No.
I mean, we had a mile and a half walk to get there. But no,
I don't think it was actually.
And what was the atmosphere like in amongst all the England fans? I mean, I know
Brilliant.
you know,
Amazing.
just singing all the time.
Oh my God.
And
Amazing. We met so many friends and like it was unbelievable. Like.
Yeah, like I said, the people I met, I'm still friendly with now on Facebook.
But it's funny because also, we may have mentioned it earlier, that you didn't know other supporters by their first names. You knew them by their club name, their clubs, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So
The others, Coventry, Exeter, yeah.
And what about you, Whitey? I mean, was it just you meeting the Dickinsons and Chris and Colin, or did your kind of numbers swell with other?
Oh no, there was it was a massive group of people.
Like you making friendships?
Yeah. We'd watch all the games together. We'd watch all, obviously apart from the England games, we'd watch all the other games where we'd find bars. And like I say, we all organised this massive trip to this island with just people we met, and because it was all England fans where we were staying. It was hard not to, if you know what I mean. It was organised to keep us away from everywhere else, which is their main objective. But it was great. I can't complain about it. It was just amazing, really.
Well, Scotland's second game was against Sweden, and I remember it was all these Swedes suddenly turned up at the bar a day or two before the game because their first game was against Brazil up in Turin, but now they were down in Genoa for the second match. But we all got on really well, and they were coming to the bar all the time, and there was actually Gordon Jury, you remember the striker? Yeah. His brother was part of our
Spurs.
Yeah, but his brother Campbell, I think he played for Stirling Albion or something. Right. But he was there anyway. So we organised a game.
Right.
There was a ground up the road, a baking hot day, and we went up and we played Scotland against Sweden on this football pitch up the road. Class. Fantastic. Campbell Jury, I remember, he scored about 6 or 7 goals.
Yeah.
He was and we had a great time. And then all had beers and everything. It was absolutely which is what football kind of should be about.
We had like England against Italy on the beach.
Well, against the Italians.
Yeah, and it got quite feisty. One lad broke his leg. Actually, they were playing barefooted.
An English
lad broke his leg. And he went in for a tackle, and you can imagine. But it got quite not aggressive, but physical. If you know what I mean. There's some tackles going in.
Anyway, I must tell you about what happened in the Sweden game because obviously Scotland need to win. So there's Barry and myself in the stand. So we're stood there, and Scotland win a corner down the other end. So we're just about to take the corner, and Stuart McCall, who I loved, he played for Everton at the time anyway, as the corner is just being taken, Barry nudges me and he says, "Look up over there, the other end, there's another Isle of Man flag." So I looked up, I went, where's this flag? Next thing, goal. And Stuart McCall, I missed the goal. Looking for this Isle of Man flag on the other end. So Scotland won that one 2-1. So then it came, we're hurtling on now towards the final game against Egypt. What are your memories of the Egypt match? Because obviously then as well, you played the Irish, you played the Dutch.
Yeah.
The Egyptians aren't bringing anybody into it,
I think so, I know.
I'm just trying to remember, did I go? Obviously I went, but... I
remember being obviously nervous about it all because it all depended on this. Yeah. Even though we were like, the way we played against Holland, you think it was a given really, but one goal, wasn't it?
I can't really...
Mark Wright
scored the header,
yeah. Obviously just glad that we got through, really, you know what I mean? But we knew that was the end of our kind of holiday because the money had gone and, but the rest...
I think when I sold my England shirt on the second to last day, that fed me back to London on the way back.
After the games, what was that like? I mean, was that like a journey back or hit the bars or, how did that work?
Well, we drove back to where we were staying and then just partied in the area because, like I say, there's just like hundreds and hundreds of fans there.
It was a bit of a meander back. Yeah. Just talking about the game, probably, and I don't know, you're deflated then because the game's finished. You've used all your energy up. We'd just go and get something to eat. Yeah,
I remember the Sweden, because it was a night game, that one as well. We took the train back to Loano. I can't remember how far it was, but I remember it being stuck. It stopped for a long, long time, and there was no drink or anything. Oh, it was horrible. That was, and we eventually got going again. But our last game, there's a little story. So the lad who organised our tickets for us, not the tickets, the accommodation for us, Gary had flown over. Wow. Now, Gary had not long got married, like weeks earlier, and then he told he's from Glasgow, but lived in the Isle of Man. He told his wife, he said, "I'm going to go to the World Cup." "No, you're not." So he was saying, "Don't worry, I'll see you there. I'll catch you in the, blah blah blah." Anyway, in he walks into the bar, like, "Yay, you made it!" He says, "Yeah."
Just for the last game.
For this last, he might have got there for Sweden, but definitely it was, had his ticket for Brazil. But what we found out later was he told his wife that his mother in Glasgow was very ill. And so he was going up to visit her in Glasgow.
I know the ending to this.
I know. So anyway, she then rings up. Because there's no mobile phones or anything back then, so it was all that. So she then, his wife rang to speak to him and speaks to his mum. Oh, you sound okay. What's wrong? I speak to Gary. No, he's not here. All this business. So then when Gary rang home just to check in, and she said to him, if you're not home tomorrow, this is the night before the Brazil game.
Right.
If you're not home tomorrow, it's off. That's it. Forget it. This was. I know. Anyway, so I can remember we were in the bar till say 2 a.m. or whatever the night before the game, and he was still up, and his flight, I think, was even from Milan, was supposed to be at 7 o'clock the next morning. When we just thought, I just remember saying to Barry, there's no way he's going to make it. He'll be here for the Brazil game tomorrow as well. Anyway, fair enough. He made it. He came home and he missed that Brazil game. But he came home and he missed Brazil. But the best one of all, go into the old Delo Alpi Stadium or whatever. They don't play there anymore now. I think it's the old Olympic Stadium in Turin. A bit drizzly. Anyway, we go in. It's like a bowl in the ground. We go sit down where we're supposed to sit. And there's 2 guys in front of us, straight off the shortbread tin, with the feathers and the kill and all the gear. One of them in front of us was out of the count. He was inebriated completely. This guy was sat in front of us, drunk as a skunk, out of the game, and he would go forward, and the people in front of him would push him back, and then he'd come back to us and be leaning, and then we'd be pushing him forward. And I just remember the bloke next to him, who wasn't as bad as him, turned around and he said, he's waited all his life to watch Brazil. And he slept through the whole game. Brazil won 1-0. Scotland nearly snatched it towards the end. But again, like with you, Whitey, in fact, we flew back the next day from Milan. In fact, Ian Rush was on our flight.
Was he?
I remember that. Yeah, we flew back from Milan to...
Was that Scotland out?
That was Scotland were out, yeah. So you decided to stay, as I say, after... So did you stay for the Belgium game?
No, I stayed in Sardinia, because it moved to the mainland,
didn't it? Yeah.
And as I say, the cash was getting low, so I got back to London and stayed in a hostel up in Queensgate, and I went down to Trafalgar Square, to a bar in Trafalgar Square to watch. I think I came home for the semi-final. I'm sure I did, because I think I watched it in the Haven. But I stayed there for the Belgium game, and that atmosphere in London that night was unbelievable.
That's kind of when the games got really exciting, wasn't it?
I thought they were lucky against Belgium. I think because Belgium hit the post, and I remember I think they rode their luck, and I think they rode their luck against Cameroon as well.
Totally.
And then the semi-final against Germany, which everyone remembers. I can remember watching it with my dad and my brother, and we couldn't believe how good England played.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
it was incredible.
Yeah.
So many near misses. Waddle hit the post.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, he did. That's right. Yeah, left footer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We'll come to other stuff in a moment, but generally it was just a nice holiday, or
just an amazing experience. Yeah, it's kind of like the first time I'd done anything like that. Like I was 18. Yeah, and it was like I say, it was a spur of the moment thing to go. Obviously, I'd just been to watching Stoke and going to that is a completely different thing. But yeah, amazing.
When we got beat by Russia in
88,
was it 5-0?
3-1. It was 3-1.
We got absolutely battered. And I actually left that game in Germany with about 25 minutes to go and said, I'm never going to watch England again. I remember walking out because everyone was dead because everyone was still in the ground. And I got on the train, no one on the train in Germany to come home.
England already were knocked out before that game, I think.
Before the game.
And
we got battered by them. I thought the score was more than that.
No, it's 3-1.
But they were really in control and England never got a sniff. And I said, right, I'm never going to go and watch England again. 2 years later.
And was that the last time you went to a tournament? I went to Sweden for England this time.
Yeah.
I went to the last game against Sweden, which was Graham Taylor's last game. It wasn't his Gary Lineker's last game.
Yeah.
That's right, but Graham Taylor
just before
the USA. He failed to get them through to the USA, didn't he? But,
so we'd actually started, because it was like a Maroon thing that we went to the Italian 90. We actually started to put a kitty together to go to America. So we're all going to go to America.
I think Tabs and everyone was going with
so we did this thing where we definitely go to America. Whatever. In fact, my brother, Simon, so he was getting married when the World Cup was on, and he said to me, will he be best man? And I was like, I'm not going to be here. And he goes, what? I goes, well, I'm going to be in America then. I actually thanked Graham Taylor in my speech
Yeah.
for not getting us there. We went to Amsterdam for the finals instead, we all, as a club sort of thing. But yeah, I've been to other tournaments, like went to Portugal and then went to Germany. And
Same was it, or did Italian 90 just have that little bit?
As soon as the Italian 90 finished, the whole system about watching England completely changed. We started going to the games to get points, to get tickets for the finals, and then it started becoming really more family orientated. So it was harder to get games, and then even the atmosphere changed, I think, because you were going to like qualifiers against Poland at Old Trafford, and there'd be people telling you to sit down and shut up, you know what I mean, because they've got kids with them and stuff, and you're thinking, oh my God, what's happened to this game? But that's what they were trying to attract. They were trying to attract families rather than real football fans, really, you know what I mean? And that's when I started to kind of fall out of love with going to the games. I mean, we went to the few on the Eurostar to, like say, the Gelsenkirchen, to the fan parks. We went to Portugal for a couple of games. We went to the first one against France. I think that when Rooney played amazing that game.
Yeah.
And then went to the Switzerland one as well. But yeah, started to go downhill a bit, I think, as an atmosphere.
I didn't go to any other tournaments, but I went to two more England games after 3 more. And one of them was the Ireland game in Dublin.
Oh, no, you were there.
That got
in 95.
abandoned.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Dublin that night. We got the ferry from Holyhead, like 15 hours on a ferry.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we got the coach up from Victoria Coach Station to Holyhead all through the day, boat through the night. The match was that night, so we were in the Dublin bars. But absolute World War. I've never seen violence like that.
Yeah, it's a shame.
We actually got 2 Irish fellas, because we had England shirts on and that, and it got that bad the ferry wasn't till midnight on the way back. So we were just in a bar, and this fella said, look, lads, here. And he gave us an Irish bobble hat and an Irish scarf and said, don't walk through these streets without that stuff on.
But the thing is with it, like, you know, saying about Italian 90, saying we were segregated from other fans, and, you know, so you couldn't really party with other fans. Whereas, like, when we went to Portugal, we kind of went to the France game and then went to the Switzerland game, and there was one of the England fans who was staying with us had tickets for Holland, Germany, a spare ticket, and he says, you fancy it? So we were in Lisbon, and he was going to drive all the way up to Porto to watch this game. We had England shirts on, we were in the Holland end, and we just basically partied with them all night, and afterwards, you know what I mean?
Which is, again, what it should be like.
Yeah, exactly, but I've got a mad story about that. So after the game, there was like in this big square, and there was this guy, and he swapped his Holland shirt with this girl. She had like a blouse on, and I seen him take his shirt off and give it to this girl, and this girl took her blouse off and give it to him, and he squeezed into this blouse, and I went up to him and said, "Is that Holland's away kit?" When he put the blouse on, and he went, "Hi, Paul." And he goes, "You're not remember in Madrid 2 weeks ago? We were partying with your little mate, so Jason Birch was with me. And I met this guy 2 weeks ago in Madrid. That's how we got to Portugal. And I'd approached him. I didn't even know who he was.
Wow.
But that's what I mean. It's better to be like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of kept away, you know what I mean? So.
But the one thing I think that we can all agree on is that even though, I mean, we've reached that time in our lives now, I know you kind of touched on it, Whitey, but the spark's kind of gone. I don't. What is it? Is it because the way that the game is now?
I think it's so commercialised now. It's all about getting the money in.
Yeah.
And fair enough, the family thing.
But even regardless of all of that, I don't even care really anymore. If they do well, great. If they don't, it doesn't hurt as much.
I'll have to admit, when the finals are on, I'll get into watching the finals. We kind of like just all get together and watch all the games, but I know what you mean. It's just, I don't know, it's just not there.
I quite often sit at home and they'll be talking about the England game on telly tonight.
I didn't even know it was on. Exactly. Yeah, I'm the same. Well. In a world where communication is everything as well, you know. In fact, there are England players playing, I'm going, who's they play for?
Yeah. Who's they play
I don't even know who they are.
And I don't know. I think away from home you would still probably have a bit of an atmosphere. I mean, I went to Wembley for qualifiers and things 6 or 7 times, and that was the old Wembley then.
Yeah.
Walking up them steps, you could hear the roar, the rumble inside as you walked up the steps. You know, that atmosphere was building already. I don't know if it was because there was less kids went then.
Well,
I know you want to get your kids there, but it wasn't so much a children's thing to go and watch. It was a an adult thing to go and watch.
Just touching on that, when I went to the UEFA 92, as it was called in Sweden, that England-Sweden game, and both teams had to win, I think, to qualify, and England scored through Platt 4 minutes from the start anyway, and all the Sweden end next to us behind the goal was all families.
Yeah.
So England scored, and all the England fans then jeering the Swedes, etc. That time, and the Swedes were just looking. But then, when Sweden in the second half equalised to make it 1-1, all the Swedes turned around to the England fans and did what the England fans did to them. Yeah. But then it was just beers and all the stuff that was flying. It was horrible, really, really, really horrible. And then, even before the match, I remember. It was always meet at the train station before you go to the ground. Yeah. And then, so we met at the train station. What the Swedish police did was, because it was 7 stops up to the ground on the tube or whatever, the Swedish police just put the fans on, thinking that the fans would just take the tube all the way up. But no, 2 stops up, they would all get off, and then, because they want to walk to the ground.
Yeah.
So then we got to the ground, met everyone, and etc. But then after the game had finished, that's when it really kicked off. It was pretty nasty, really. But
you wouldn't expect that in Scandinavia, really.
No, well, and the thing was as well, because they kept all the England fans back. We were all held back for a good half an hour, 45 minutes, and still when we left, they were all waiting.
In Cagliari, they held us back.
Yeah,
I'm sure we were there 40 minutes until after the game had finished.
Trying to disperse it, but then all the Swedes, and then we ducked and dived our way out, and we'd driven to Stockholm for that one, but managed to get to the car and drove away and then left them to it. So, okay. It's been really fascinating chatting with you. Before we go, what's your outstanding, abiding memory of Italia 90?
Funny enough, it's not the football.
No, I wouldn't think it would be.
A great 2-week holiday, and I keep saying to my wife, we'll go there for a holiday one day, because it's a beautiful island. Italy was nice.
What about the food? Because that was one thing. All we could get for 10 days, all we had was Italian food.
Oh, well, our egg and chips was great.
Well, we found somewhere that served omelette and chips, and let's go in there, because we were just sick of lasagna. All we could get where we were was lasagna, pizza, pasta, spaghetti.
Well, I don't know if it's because Cagliari was the capital, but they had quite a good English selection.
We had nothing in Luano. We found omelette and chips. I think it was 1 egg and about 11 chips. Yeah. And then we ended up going for a pizza afterwards.
Yeah, we did have a lot of little pizza push along things where you could just buy a slice.
I remember having the chickens on the spits in the street, getting loads of them all the time. In fact, I actually gave a tramp, right?
Wasn't me, was it?
Chicken. No, I wouldn't give you it. I wouldn't give you it. I actually gave him some chicken because I felt sorry for him, and he threw it at me.
Oh,
he threw it at me. I know. I just didn't like it.
One other thing that I was going to mention as well was we discovered. Did you ever go to any of the ice cream bars? Where you would they would give you a bowl of vanilla ice cream and pour vodka over it, and you would sit there eating.
I wish I had.
No,
Maybe it was it was the part of the country we were in, but it was good. But I just remember when we came home, we just said, I never want to see spaghetti or lasagna ever again. I don't
think we ate that much of it, to tell you the truth. I can't even remember what I ate.
No. Ours was fry-ups in the morning. They everywhere seem to do that.
Yeah. So what about you, Whitey? Your abiding memory? If there was
probably the camaraderie between all the England fans, and because obviously it's the first time I'd experienced it, and I was pretty young then, if you know what I mean. But and I think being a Stoke fan, I found that when Stoke got in the Premiership, I started to hate all the England players because they played against us. Do you know what I mean? So I couldn't cheer for them one day. I couldn't slag them off one day and then cheer for them the next. But at that time, none of them were our rivals, so I kind of loved every player. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I think was Steve Bull was the only one out.
Steve Bull was the top flight. Yeah, he was the only player. Yeah.
And there's a lot of Wolves fan there because of him. You know what I mean?
I think they might have even been 3rd division then as well.
Maybe,
Wolves,
yeah.
I think.
But I remember there's big. I remember they had these sumo Wolves stickers everywhere. These big, massive Wolves fans. But yeah, I think the camaraderie between all the fans. But yeah.
Well, that's another memory for me is friends I've made that have lasted 35 years.
Yeah, you know? I've recently been in touch with a couple of the Scottish ones, but yeah. Okay. Well, guys,
thank you.
It's been really fascinating.
Thank you for
sharing your memories of Italia 90. Boys, thank you very much.
Okay, cheers, Dave.